No better thing to talk about strata levies on Valentine's Day. What perfect timing. Stay tuned. We're going to cover the debt trap on strata levies.
Good morning, gents. Happy Valentine's, first of all. It's
Happy Valentine's, Billy.
For others, it's a normal day.
Cricket's on.
It's a big day for Hallmark.
Super Bowl's on. Look, nevertheless, it's got something for everyone.
Super Bowl, House of Gucci I watched on a Saturday night. Very good movie. Go and see it.
That's it. But thanks for joining us. Andrew, the branch manager of Bright & Duggan, one of the largest strata management companies in our area. We work very closely with them as they look after a number of properties we also manage. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It was a interesting topic a couple of weeks ago when I think, what was the exact topic? But something...
Evil strata managers.
Evil strata managers. And so I was a bit perplexed by, firstly, the topic and then some of the themes. But look, I think you got 95% of it right, Mark. So good work on that. But certainly the topic didn't do us any favours.
No, I got slapped around for that by he said, Mark, Body Corporate hasn't... I think she said Body Corporate hasn't been around for 20 years.
Since 1996. Go to Queensland.
She said it's an owner's corporation. I was like, okay, thank you.
Well, the word strata gets used so interchangeably for strata manager, owner's corporation, levies. Like it's that's confusing. So strata managers are very defined in what they do, and as is an owner's corporation, as is a strata committee.
All right. So actually, before we get into the big topic, which is the debt trap, this is so important for strata. Can you tell me biggest thing you want to correct with people? Would that be what you just said, the misconception, or what's the thing that you pick up the phone and you always say to people, no, it's not like this, it's like that?
Yeah, look, I guess we're problem solvers. We're not decision makers. A lot of people think that we are call it a boundary to them getting what they want done. But look, what we do, like a property manager, like a sales agent, is defined under the Property Stock and Business Agents Act. So we're very much limited in our powers, and so we're basically instructed by a strata committee or owners corporation interchangeably. And so if there is a delay in us being able to do something for you, it's generally because we're trying to seek permission. So whilst we try and be efficient, people's interactions with strata managers seem to be fairly cumbersome, but that's because of the way that the Act doesn't give us all the powers that we necessarily need to get stuff done there and then. So that's it's a much bigger topic to try and explain than that, but I think that's the core of it. If you don't deal with strata managers day in, day out, people have their frustrations because what are they getting from us? They're getting a levy quarterly, and they're calling us up when they've got problems. So our interactions are not good ones, and so people don't really see a lot of value in them. Whereas if we're working really hard with a strata committee like you've been on, I think you probably see and understand the value more so that a good strata manager offers.
Yeah, definitely. And also the strata managers, they're real. I guess a great strata manager is probably just a great communicator. They're a great negotiator to make everyone happy. It's a big bloody job.
Yeah, the way I paint successful strata management is the ability to resource and solve issues, like resolve problems. Like we don't have all the answers, but we've got the ability to go out and contact lawyers, experts, other consultants, builders, you name it, to try and resource the answers that people need in day-to-day living in owners' corporations. So good strata managers, they're not sort of firing from the cuff and saying, I've got the answer to this, the answer to that. We don't know sort of all about waterproofing, but we are able to resource and make contact with all the relevant people. And that is a good strata manager. Like we we sit back, we absorb the information, and then we give advice, and then we let owners corporations make the best decision, hopefully, for the better outcome of everyone in that building. And I guess that's another point in that people think that we work for them. We work for the owners corporation, which is the collective body of all owners. So as you referred to as body corporate, and people sometimes get that wrong. So that's another important point. We're trying to work for the collective outcome of everyone.
So, as an example, you may have a problem with maybe a drainage, maybe a gardening issue where you want to get that fixed straight away. There may be a tree that's in your way or something, and you ring up Strata and you go, "I'm part of the owners committee. You work for me. Why can't you get this tree cut straight away?" And you're there saying, "Hang on a sec, happy to if everyone agrees. Got to talk to the committee," and that's really a big block for people.
Yeah, and that's simply it. Like, ultimately, we're the end of the phone call, and we can try and get you the solve on the other end, but you need to bear with us whilst we go about that. And ultimately, you can take us out of the picture. You can talk straight to the Strata committee and do your bidding that way if you want to do that, and that's another thing people don't want to do.
Got it. Now, the debt trap at Strata, this is a massive one. This is the big topic of today, and I really have wanted to get some professional to talk about this, like yourself, because it's a big part of my job. When I say Strata to people, they roll their eyes back and they go, like, how much are the levies? And you go, it's really weird, because when you say a low levy, people go, oh, that's really good. And when you say a high levy, people go, oh shit, that's bad. But it's almost quite the opposite. That and what we'll talk about. But it's because if you're running a deficient strata, low strata levies, there's no money in the strata. You're going to be in a bad way.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about this debt trap that people can put them in? And there's a news article this week that you guys have featured in as well. How does low strata, high strata, like, what are your pinch points on that?
Yeah, look, there's always been, I think since the beginning of the time, inclination to not put money into the owners corporation, in that owners would rather have that money in their own bank account and then make a decision to fund works when those are required. And that works really well when you've got a walk up and the only requirements are some brick repointing, redoing the roof and recarpeting inside. It doesn't work when you've got these massive multifaceted buildings with lifts and car parks and garage doors and you name it, like hundreds of pieces of plant and equipment and cost millions of dollars a year to run in some cases. So that just does not work. And the Act is now, well, it has been structured for quite a while, but particularly since 2016, around the fact that you need to properly fund owners corporations. So there's still owners corporations and strata managers who go around and shop low levies, but I think that's a complete fallacy. And the tribunal sees through stuff like that as well, in that if an owners corporation is not fulfilling its duty to repair and maintain, which is one of the highest duties it has, it will appoint compulsory strata managers to manage its affairs. And that means the owners corporation has no powers. The strata manager, well, it might have no powers depending on the nature of the order. And the order will say that the strata manager, whoever's appointed, will need to go out, conduct certain works, raise levies regardless of whatever those works cost, and basically just carry out those things because it judges the owners corporation to be dysfunctional. So I guess that leads into that article from last week. It was one of the #1 articles on SMH, and it did us no favors as a business in that it tarred us with the issues of the owners corporation effectively. So I don't know, I won't tell the whole story. You can read the tribunal order if you want. Union Lodge Broadway is a very large strata scheme. It's made up of, I think it's about 600 small apartments, which are basically student accommodation, plus a number of commercial lots on the ground floor. It's a very old refurbished building, and it's had known issues for a number of years. It was judged back in 2020 to be dysfunctional in that it had failed to comply with a council order to fix part of the facade and awning. And I think now the clock tower, it was about $15 to $20 million worth of work. And they'd spent $1 million on legal fees to stay out of a compulsory management after telling the owners corporation it was going to cost a quarter of that. So there'd been a saga for a couple of years, and then basically the tribunal said, you are dysfunctional, and Bright & Duggan were appointed as the compulsory manager for 2 years. We've since obviously had to assess what work needs to be done under the order and start raising money around that. People have started getting the levies for that, which they've known about the work for now 4 and 5 years in most cases, and if they'd bought in more recently, they should have picked that up from searches. They've got their levy notices, and they're throwing basically the bananas at us as the bad guys. Look, unfortunately, look, we can be tarred with the brush, but look, we're just doing our job as instructed by the tribunal. If we didn't do that, then we can be sued. So I guess there's no positives out of this for anyone. The only positive is going to be when A, the work is done, and B, people can just move on with their lives and hopefully make decisions around buying and selling. But I guess to add to all that, and the article only sort of glanced upon it, as all unbalanced news articles like to do, was that we have appointed, so we've approached the building commissioner to give us, David Chandler, some advice around how we're managing that. And we've also explored collective sale options for the owners corporation, in that might be the best option for that building, selling it to a developer, other than try and fix the whole thing.
It's tough when you're obviously the deliverer of bad news to many people. You've got a lot of people interacting with you. I actually found that myself working in property management, working with Strata, and then you sort of relay, as another point of contact back some of the frustrations you're having whilst you're working with, other people on your end. So it's not easy.
No, it's not. And look, our job changes every day. I like it because it is a different sort of job every day, and my day goes very quickly. But it really does have its challenges, and bad media, which doesn't represent the whole picture, doesn't do us any favours. Like, we're striving for professionalism and doing a better job by everybody, and we want to attract really good people into the industry. And I think for Strata, which is a large topic, to have very small parts of it sort of concentrated on as negative doesn't help the situation.
And something, and I've got to say this, guys, a topic that I have all the time with people about Strata levy. My mum was a lot of old people are really against Strata buildings because of Strata levies. Very quickly, what exactly does a Strata levy consist of? And the reason I ask this question is I always say to people, the money doesn't get burnt, the money doesn't get buried, and the money doesn't get stolen. When you pay Strata and really high Strata levies, the money is not going to be stolen, burnt, or buried. Where does the money go?
Yeah, that's a really good one that I can hopefully answer quite quickly. So, look, using a very simple owners corporation as an example again, the vast majority of what you're paying is insurance. So you collectively insure the building. As you know, you own airspace, and everyone owns the rest of the property in common. So you're basically insuring the building, which is one of the great requirements of Strata, and that you do need to be insured. You're paying for administration. You don't need to have a Strata manager, but most owners corporations that are over 2 lots probably do have one to assist them. You might be paying for a building manager, and then otherwise you're paying for... Yep.
Just 1 second on the insurance of the question that we've got here. Does the insurance part of Strata vary depending on the quality of the building?
Very much so. So whilst insurers some years ago used to want to insure anything and you get 8 different quotes, you've now got insurers who are running away from buildings as quickly as possible based on defects, lack of maintenance, past insurance claims. So all of those things are a perfect storm for you not being able to get insurance if you're not maintaining your building, not fixing defects, and not otherwise managing your building as well as you possibly can be. So yes.
Okay, that's why it pulls straight back to what you were saying. So what are you paying for when you're paying Strata? A big part of that is insurance. What's the other one?
So insurance, administration, repairs and maintenance, so basic repairs and maintenance, and also any management contracts that you might have, like cleaning. And then that's your administration fund. There's 20 plus line items in a large building. It might only be 6 or 7 in a small. But then you go to the Capital Works Fund, and that's based on a Capital Works plan that you're required to update every 5 years. And that'll be a deep dive into what your building costs to continually repair and upgrade around painting, roof repairs. So all those capital items which get touched every, might be 2 years, might be 5 years, might be 10 years. So that's your kitty basically that you don't touch, that will build up, and that will allow people when they're buying and selling to come into a building and say, is that building well funded? Is it going to be able to meet its obligations when it has to? Or am I going to be asked to put my hand in my pocket really quickly to have to raise money? And that's what people don't want to do. And the Act is structured now to hopefully stop that happening.
And that is your debt trap.
That is your debt trap. Yeah.
Yeah. So guys and girls, if you're not going to face the music, if you're not going to listen to your strata manager and the people who build it, because I would imagine every time you go into a strata meeting,
We lost you, Mark.
I'm glad that's not my reception. But yes, every time you go into a strata meeting, if you're not well prepared, you get shot down. If that's what the
I can imagine
the question was.
Yeah. No, it's a big topic. Mark, do you want to repeat your question? We lost you for a sec.
I just would imagine that, when you go into a strata meeting, you're there going, we need these levies to go up because of the commitments that are in the building. And then I'd imagine everyone in the building is going, no, we want the levies to go down. It would just be a constant arm wrestle. Is it always an arm wrestle, or are some committees really understanding?
No. Look, we advocate for everyone doing the right thing and funding buildings properly. And the way in which you do that, depending on owners' corporation, is very different. So we've got some buildings which will want to raise more and more money, and we say you don't need to raise that much money, but that's how they manage their affairs, and they'll put them in these large contingencies. And look, they're the best because effectively they make your job a lot easier, and that you're not advocating for anything come that general meeting. But then others, it is a constant arm wrestle. Like, people don't want to put a cent into the owners' corporation, and then they're arguing with you about repairs and maintenance that is not being done. So you're just like, well, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. What do you want to do? Here's the advice. You can't do this if you don't do this. We don't have a pot of gold that we can draw money from, and at the end of the day, we are administrators, and we're administrating what we've got in front of us. So we'll give all the advice, and effectively, if we don't give the advice, we can get in trouble. But owners' corporations make their own decisions as to how they fund their buildings, and that long term has consequences on the upkeep of the building, positive or negative.
I think we've cleared up some stuff today.
I think it's probably a lack of understanding where most of this goes wrong, because, like you say, the money's not disappearing in thin air.
No, it sits there. Like, you can't necessarily get it back unless you decide to unanimously resolve to give it back to each individual owner. But I guess it's all very small pieces of a pie. Like, I'm in a strata townhouse development, and I put in my money happily every quarter because I can watch the funds grow. And I know that down the track, when I'm either selling or we're looking to do capital works, that the money's going to be there, and I'm not going to be paying a $4,000 or $5,000 special levy to get something done, which was foreseeable.
It's nuts. And I believe Macquarie Bank does a facility where they will lend money to strata schemes as well. So every time that sort of makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
Yeah, look, that's people. I think that's the debt trap, really. Owners' corporations can access a line of funding basically from a couple of different providers, including Macquarie. And look, I think it's a really good product in the fact that, look, there is some unforeseen stuff that can happen in owners' corporations, and you need the money there and then. And it's very hard to raise money very quickly, in that once you issue a levy, it might be 3 months before it gets paid. Whereas you can take out a line of credit and get the works done, and there is situations where that's required. So I don't know, take the cyclones up in far north Queensland. Like, you might need to replace a roof straight away. You can't wait months and months, but if you can get the funding, you do it. So look, I think functionally they're a really good thing, but yes, they are being sold as if they're a panacea to people that need to replace cladding, for example, who've had the opportunity to raise money for years. you don't want to put a $10 million loan on the owner's corporation, because that is going to have a negative effect for years and years and years.
Mate, you've been very, very kind with your time this morning, Andrew. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me, Mark. Thanks, Billy. It was great.
Layers.
Yeah, cheers. Any questions? Happy to receive an email from anyone.
Yeah, we'll whack your details in there. We're going to whack that story in there as well. Billy, I think it's in that WhatsApp group there. If we could throw that into the comments section, if people want to click on that story. You guys were the knight in shining armor appointed for that Strata committee. You weren't driving the ship years before it crashed. But it is interesting and it is complex. Wow.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks heaps. Cheers, Andrew.
Have a fantastic day. See you, Mark.
Thanks,
Billy.
Billy. What happened to your head, Billy? Why is it so red?
It was a big weekend for sport. I went to some cricket, watched the UFC on a rooftop bar. The rest is history.
Enjoy the Super Bowl.
You know what, Mark? I forgot my sun cream, so to stay cool at the time, I was just sipping G&Ts and beers, and yeah, now it's all come back to bite me.
It's all over it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd say at least it's going to look good when it goes brown, but it won't.
No, it won't.
Yeah, I know that full well.
Enjoy the week.
See you guys. Bye.
Ciao.